out. Like we were in the 70s. But at some, I guess that it was pretty strong. I didn't realize I was enjoying it so much. So I have a little clown nose. So I think now everybody is on. So we're going to start. So last week we spoke about Vayakel Pekude. These two parashot many times are read together. This year they're read separately, but they're very much connected to one another. Vayakel, last week's parsha, is really, it means, you know how the word kihila means community. Vayakel means to gather, and it's community. Let's gather together. Let's all huddle together. Let's get together. And what he does, it's very interesting, and I'm going to touch upon a little bit last week's parsha and connect it to this week's parsha. Is Moshe gathers the people, and the chronology of it, this is after they've received the Torah. They've sinned in the golden calf. Okay. There's 5 parashot that are talking about the Mishkan. And if it's okay with you, I'm just going to use the Hebrew word because I really don't like the English one, tabernacles. So the Mishkan. And we spoke about why so many times, so many details. Creation got a half a parsha, right? In Genesis, like 2 chapters. Parshat Mishpatim, the laws, 1 parsha. The Mishkan got 5 parashot. What is the hidden message within the Mishkan? We're going to explore that. We started exploring that last week, but obviously it's really important. And in a nutshell, why is it so important? The Mishkan represents the physical dwelling place for God, for Mamash Hashem in this physical world. It's making a home for Hashem in this world. And that's really our mission in life. Our mission in life is to make a home for God in this world. And the Mishkan is a prototype. And from the Mishkan and the details of the Mishkan, we could learn about our mission in this world. So it might look very simplistic, materials, gold, silver, red wool, blue wool, whatever it was that they built it, that it's really not. That's very deep secrets that are intertwined into what seems like the simple fabric of the material that they constructed the Mishkan with. And then in this week's parsha, Pekude is the story of the employment of what they were building in the last week's parshas. So when Hashem, he commands them to construct an altar, in this week's parsha is how they're going to use the altar. When in the other week's parshas, he's talking about the garments of the Cohen. What do the Kohanim do? How they service God, okay? And we're going to realize that there's 2 components to the Mishkan. The material, creating the home, right? We know that's what a home, right? That you could buy a home and it's empty, but you need to first start with the home. And then you take care of the details and you get the furniture, okay? So that's the difference. A lot of times people think, oh, should get the details first and then we get the home. And that really, what's more important is to lay the foundation, is to create the home. And then obviously the home will be inhabited and we will put everything in place and find a home for our furniture. Like what's the best place for my phone? What's a good home for my phone in the house? Because I'm always looking for it. So I should always put it on my desk so I'll know where it is. Where should I put my keys? I hang my keys next to my door on a little hook that I have there so I don't end up looking for it. But I really need to start with the construction. I have to have a home, a space. So really our job is both. And I'm going to translate this into spiritual terms, okay? The first component is the material, is creating the home, is me setting aside time to learn Torah. That is the material. I'm creating a foundation. This is going to be a home for God. And then actually learning Torah is the employment of it. I'm taking this time that I put aside and I'm learning Torah. But I first have to have the commitment, I can't just learn Torah. I'm going to have to commit and set time aside. It's got to be important to me. And then the second step is, so to say, the furniture, right? So it's like ridiculous if you would see someone, they don't have an apartment or a house, they don't intend on renting one, but they're shopping for furniture, right? And they're getting all that, but they don't actually have where to put it, right? So it's important first create the foundation, the home. What does it mean to create a home for God in this world? Let's go back to the word home. What does it mean, home? Home is where I feel totally comfortable, right? It's where I could be in my pajamas, where I know where things are. I've got what I need. And you know, even when you go to the best vacation, right? And I'm like so challenging to go on one, really? I'm really in a need to go on vacation. But when I come home, there's nothing like home. My bed, my pillows, I have everything I need. If I go on vacation, I'm condensed, right? I only have like specific things. I didn't take all my medicines, all my vitamins, all my books. I'm home. I have all my stuff with me. What's a home? It's a place where I feel welcomed. It's a place where I feel I'm in my element. Creating a home for God, what it really means is creating a space for God in this world that he feels comfortable. So to say, I'm going like this, that God feels comfortable within our presence. What does that mean? That it's got to be welcoming for God. I invite God into my space, right? So I'm not in a place of constriction and strife and lashon hara and cursing and anger and lack of faith and anxiety and doubt, because that's obviously not going to make God's presence welcome, right? Because I want to be in control. Making God feeling at home, to make God feel at home, means I have to have an environment where it's so comfortable. Like we always want for our guests, when we have guests staying with us, like today I was hosting a class, biggest compliment, thank you, we feel great in your house, we feel at home. That's what I want. I want you guys to just like, you want to go drink, go for it. You don't have to feel like you're walking on tippy toes and on eggshells, you know, when you want to go to, you know, get something. It should be comfortable. We want Hashem to feel comfortable within our presence. What does that mean? Literally, that's an environment that invites God. What does that mean? To break it down even more, that it's a God-like environment. Break it down even more. God is about truth. God is about compassion. God is about unconditional love, right? When we're in that element, in that zone, in that mode of kindness, of chesed, of unconditional love, acceptance of others, no judging, a place of faith, connection, yearning for a relationship, God feels at home. And he feels at home, so he hangs out there. And then we get God's help, assistance. And literally, if I run my life from a place of, I'm in control, I could do this, I got whatever I got in my life because of my smarts, I chose the right guy, I got the right job, I got the right degree. And that's what brings me to this, you know, great place in my life, the status that I'm in. So you take Hashem out of the picture. Next time you're in trouble, Hashem says, you manage on your own. You got it all on your own. Obviously, not true. But you feel like you've acquired everything in your life via your own ego because you're amazing and you're amazing. So, okay, you're so amazing. Run your life on your own. So we could end up with I would say it's like a frequency of a thought. We could push God out so he doesn't feel welcome. What's going to make someone not feel welcome? When you give them the feeling like, I don't really want you here, you know, you show them the door. Like if you've ever had someone that's in your house, but you really want them to leave, you start walking towards the door, you know, and so they don't feel welcome. It's sad. I mean, I hope that we don't feel that way ever, but like, that's kind of like, I'm giving like a gross type of example, accentuating it. So I make them feel unwelcome so they get the message and they leave, you know? So making God feel at home is making him feel like, Hashem, we want you here so badly. You're so welcomed. I can't live without you. I hope you never leave. I have a guest room that's going to make you feel like you're permanent, like essence, presence here. You know, you've ever, and I know I'm looking at Myra right now, but Myra has done amazing chesed. Like I know of many people who like lived in Myra's house for months, you know, and she really does. When I was there for Shabbat, by the way, Myra, I'm missing your house a lot. I was just telling Yaakov, I so wish we could just pop over, you know, we love Shabbats in Meyerland. So God willing, I can't hear you, but the idea is the way Myra makes everyone welcome in her house, they feel like they could just move in. So we have to make Hashem feel that way. Hashem, I want to have a God-like environment. The environment is so inviting to God. The question I'm going to end this chapter with is, are you inviting God into every aspect in your life? Maybe we invite God only into the dark parts of our life, like, oh God, I can't do this. Then we remember there's a God. Or we only remember God when it's amazingly going well for us, when things are smooth. Oh God, thank you. But then when we're in the dark, we're like, oh my gosh, where am I going to get help from? I'm going to die. I'm freaking out. I have anxiety, doubt. I'm alone. I'm disconnected. Wait, where's Hashem? You remembered him when you got the good thing. And it could be vice versa. And it could be that chas v'shalom, a person never feels a presence of God, is never inviting God into any part of their life. So I'm challenging us to ask ourselves, are we making God feel at home? Are we making him feel comfortable? Are we creating the God-like environment? And are we inviting God into every aspect of our life? So really, when we break it down, and this is the mother of all questions, the way New Yorkers say, the mother of all questions is, why are we here? We're here to make vessels, to create vessels that are going to contain godliness. When we create space for Hashem, Hashem comes in. There's this great method, right? Feng Shui and other methods of Marie Kondo. Get rid of things, clutter, and the universe will supply you with the things that you need. So you're like, oh, I need all this, and I don't want to let go. Let go. And I used to be part of this workshop called Megarot, drawers, where we would clean one drawer at a time. And just through that, we ended up like totally decluttering our whole life physically, but it was like a spiritual work as well. The idea is to be in the process of trusting, and that the God is always with us and he's always going to provide for us, So when we create space, we get rid of something that we don't really need now, but someone else could use. Don't worry, Hashem will fill in the void and you will get what you need, Be'ezrat Hashem. So we are here to be vessels of God, vessels for godliness. Now, I want to just, make sure. So this week's, last week's parsha started by Yakel. Moshe gathers them, right? This is after the sin of the golden calf. And he says, okay, I see you have a great need to be connected with God. Let's create a physical place, home for God in this world. And he talks to them about donating to the Mishkan, that it's going to be contribution and everybody's going to be a team and it's going to be team effort. But suddenly there's like a pause. And he talks about Shabbat, the laws of Shabbat, which seem kind of like out of context. Like, wait, we're talking about the Mishkan. Why are you talking about Shabbos? Why are you talking about Shabbat now? So let's look at this. The Hasidic masters tell us that when he gathers them, it's to make a togetherness. We have power within a community, right? We're very community oriented. If anyone ever tells you, oh, Jews, you so live to yourself, not true. We're very much community oriented. We have our power within a minyan, within a community, within what we call kehila. That's why the name of the parsha is Vayekel, to gather. Okay, so they gather. Sometimes physically we can't gather, like during Corona. It was devastating, but our communities couldn't be together, right? But we had different kinds of communities. We had virtual communities. We had learning communities. We prayed from home, and we were connecting with all Jews around the world that were praying from home, and we still felt together, right? So we have connection, physical connection, when we could gather physically. Right now, what's going on in Ukraine is so frightening. I want to give you some statistics of what's happening in Ukraine. I don't know if people are aware of this. I did a little research today on the Chabad website. 350,000 Jews live in the Ukraine, okay? 200 Chabad emissaries, shluchim, 200 couples that live there to help Jewish life in Ukraine, okay? In 35 cities, okay? There's 35 cities that Jews are basically in. Many of the shluchim didn't leave right away. They said, like this Chabad rabbi was running an orphanage with many Jewish kids. And he said, how could I leave? I'm going to leave my orphans. It's kind of like Janusz Korczak in the Warsaw Ghetto. He didn't leave. He said, I'm not going to leave my orphans. So he marched to death with his orphanage, with the kids. And he died with them. So these Chabad shluchim are very dedicated to their communities. And they've been buying buses and shuttling them and helping them to get to safety, to Moldova, to different borders so they could get into Europe and hopefully to Israel. And interesting, we are getting aliyah, like Ukrainian Jews who are saying, we're not going back to Ukraine. So the war pushed them to make aliyah and actually settle in Israel. You have a lot of people that are coming out to Israel, were able to escape, but they're planning to go back to Ukraine, or they have a job there, or they're shluchim, they're emissaries. There's a Rabbi Bleich, he's not Chabad, but he's in Kiev. He has a very big shul. He was there 30 years ago. He got there from Rockaway, and he's established like a big Jewish community. And there were all these Jews in the Ukraine, so they had no Yiddishkeit. They didn't know about anything. So there's definitely a renaissance and a regrowth of the Jewish community in the Ukraine. Now, we're not together physically with the Jews in Ukraine. Some of them weren't able to escape. They're hiding in the metros because it's low. Frightening things, very scary. They're in a real war. But physically, we're not with them. But spiritually, we're all connected. And we're davening for them. We're saying Tehillim for them. So we're feeling that sense of community, and we're worrying about them, right? Because it's like a family member that maybe is not physically with us, but we're davening, we worry about them. My kids just flew to LA, 3 of my kids, my son Yoni, he's 26, my daughter Tamar, 21, my daughter Talia. Last night they left to Los Angeles to visit my in-laws. They didn't see their grandparents in 3 years, Corona and all. So I'm worried because I shouldn't, but I want to know that they landed, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm waiting for them. They're supposed to land like in an hour. So I'm hoping like, just tell me you're okay and I'll be okay. I'm good. I'm not like freaking out, but when I have kids in the air, I always feel like, oh, I'll be happy when they're on solid ground, So we have this sense of physical connection, and Moshe here is giving us another hint of how we can connect. He tells them sometimes Moshe knew that in the future we're going to be in exile. We're not always going to be able to connect physically. Like we're going to be dispersed everywhere, right? Like now the Kiev community, some people went here, some people went there, right? What unites us? Sometimes we unite through space. We're in the same physical space. And sometimes we unite through time. So Shabbat is a sanctification of time. We could be in different parts of the world. I'm in Israel, you're in Houston, she's in College Station, Jews in Italy, and we're all at the same time. I know we have differences of time, but we're all more or less focused on forming a relationship with God through the sanctification of the Shabbat day. And we're all with the same goal. We're all sanctifying the day, and we all like in the same mode. Sometimes on Shabbat, I think about it. I close my eyes and I'm like, I wonder what Beit Rambam is doing right now. What is Maryland doing? What is my community in San Antonio that I love, Rodfei Shalom? So I think, and I miss those communities. I love all these communities. So I think, and it makes me feel connected because we're all doing the same things. We're all sitting now, eating, davening, connecting with our communities, spending time in synagogues, in different parts of the world. So Moshe foresaw the fact that we're not always going to be physically connected, that we will have community through time and through space. Okay, now what's interesting is when Moshe commands them, like, this is going to be team effort, it's going to be through a fundraiser. We know the values of that, right? Some of you that are very involved in community work, you can't just like build a shul and the people of the shul won't contribute. What's going to happen if that's the case? Let's ask Myra, because she's been a president for many years. What happens if you spoon feed a community? Unmute yourself.
Yeah. You know what? The thing is, we can't spoon feed. We can give advice, but we need every person to give of themselves and their time and energy, because that's how the community grows.
Exactly.
And through like Torch and other events and learning, we all grow together,
Right.
I
think we grow most by giving, right? So
yes,
when we give to a shul, when we're part of a fundraiser and a gala, and we give, let's say we don't have money, but we give of our time, we give of our talent, so we feel invested, And you see this with your own kids. You can't just like, I've made mistake with some of my kids where I just kind of like gave, and it's really not beneficial to them. You know, you want to create mensches, you've got to like help others become leaders, right? It's leading others to become leaders, empowering others to become empowered, and empower others. It's like a cycle, right? I'm empowering you, I'm inspiring you, you're going to inspire someone else. Together we create a strong community. So that's what Moshe was doing. He says it's going to be team effort. So everybody's going to bring what they can. Those who know how to crochet, those who know how to knit, those who know how to, you know, craft a menorah. I don't know what the title for that is called, but the craftsmen, the woodworkers, everybody is needed, right? And it's interesting that the Jewish people were so excited about it, because you remember when they fell with the sin of the golden calf, there was such a break in the relationship. They felt devastated. They really caught themselves saying, oh my gosh, we cannot believe that we stooped this low. We had just been in a honeymoon with Hashem. Like, we just got married at Mount Sinai, and we sort of say, chas v'shalom, like we're shopping for another husband, like they were looking for another God, so to say. Like, so when Moshe said, I understand your yearning, that it was really came from a place of good place, and you do teshuvah and Hashem forgave you, so let's create a dwelling place for God here in the world. So they were very zealous, very excited, very passionate, and they brought all their gold and silver. And the Zohar tells us that there was so much that there was left over, because they couldn't use. That's how much everybody wanted to give. Can you imagine like running a synagogue and you get too much donations? Halavai, we should have that problem. Like, honey, I don't know what I'm going to do with that extra $1 million. Take it back, you know, halavai. But in the Mishkan, everybody was giving so much that really the structure wasn't that big, you know. So they got what they got, they used it, and the rest of it, so interesting. The Zohar tells them that, 1 second, I'm just admitting someone in, Martha. So the yeter, the miyutar, what was set aside that they didn't need to use at that moment for erecting the Mishkan, building of the Mishkan, Shalom Martha. So that actually the Zohar tells us, because the Zohar, it's the Kabbalah, right? It's mystical. So it's always going to take it to a different kind of level, not the simplistic level. And he said that energy and that passion and what was left over that they didn't end up using for the Mishkan, because they donated, there was surplus, like too much. That energy is the energy that stayed around. And that's the energy, this is so powerful, that builds every single synagogue since creation of the building of the tabernacles, of the Mishkan. Every one, every gathering, every building of a synagogue, of a holy place, comes from that surplus, that yetel that was put aside. And that's where we glean, that's where we get our energy from to create communities, to create synagogues, JCCs, federations, Jewish family services, you name it, that comes from the donation into the Mishkan, okay? So sometimes you wonder how it is that Jewish people, we have this like amazing ability to create communities. When I was learning, and this is going to blow you away, maybe some of you know this, but I really didn't know this. I'm going to tell you something that blew me away. When the Jewish people in Europe were going through the Second World War, like in Warsaw and in Lvov, all these communities and these ghettos. Do you know what was amazing? The minute a ghetto was formed, and you have to understand what a ghetto is. Let's say I live in Meyerland, and then someone decides that I need to move to the Fondren area, and I move out of my house, and I'm put in a house with another 5 families. I don't get to take any of my stuff from my other house because someone decided that, no, all of you will be zoned to this area. That's ghetto, right? And I have no say in it. What did the Jewish people, what did these Jewish communities do? They got together and they formed communities. They said, okay, we have no choice. We're in a situation we didn't choose. They actually, this is amazing. They created little schools. They created theater groups. You know that there was like in the Warsaw Ghetto, there was actually a theater group, entertainment, Jewish entertainment, keep the spirits up. They've created systems. There was a system of a gemach, Chaver Kadisha, loans, rabbis who will answer questions, who will mentor people in very, very dark times. The Eish Kodesh, he writes it in his book, like how many people would come to him with the most bizarre questions, And there were very difficult questions to ask in a situation of war, Do we have more children? What do we do if a woman is pregnant? What do we do with this? What do we do with that? What do we do with our child? Should we do a bar mitzvah? Am I allowed to fast when there isn't enough food? And there was all that, but there was still a very strong sense of community. And that came from what was left over from the Mishkan, from this passion and dedication that the Jewish people had, and this zealousness to be part of it. Hashem, Mamash, took this, stored it aside for generations to come, and that's where we get our energy from. If you ever wonder, how is it that we don't give up on community? Because sometimes communities can be very frustrating, right? You know what I'm talking about? Like if you're building a community and it's like, you're not getting the support and the help, and you don't feel like there's a team, and maybe there are members that are more like takers, and you feel like you're giving, and you might get burnt out, right? We continue to get our inspiration and our strength from what was put aside during the donation of the Mishkan. So what a beautiful thought that is. Okay, when everybody was asked to donate for the Mishkan, something bizarre happened. We hear about the Nisi'im. Nisi'im means presidents, meaning the leaders of the tribes. They decided, we're not going to donate right away. They paused. They said, let's see what everybody else brings, and then we'll bring whatever else is needed. So really what happened in the end, they brought what's called the Avnei Hashoam, these special stones that were put into the Mishkan to decorate the walls. And they got rebuked. The word Nisi'im is spelled with a Yud, Nun, Sin, Aleph, Yud, Mem. And suddenly in this Pasuk, and it says that the Nisi'im, after everybody donated, they came and they're like, okay, now it's our turn. And it's almost like they wanted the attention. Like, here's what we're bringing, and we're bringing Avnei Shoham. And their name is spelled without the Yud because it's a rebuke to them for pausing. What is so terrible about pausing? It's a very, very important concept. When we pause, our mind works like this, that if we have to do a mitzvah, the Yetzer Hara is going to try to get in there and say, nah, don't do it. Change our mind. I decided I'm going to do teshuvah. I decided I'm going to donate money. I decided I'm going to call someone tomorrow. I decided I'm going to try to find a shidduch for a friend of mine that's not married. I decided I'm going to maybe, I've never really prayed in the morning, but I'm going to do one blessing in the morning. But I'm not doing it, right? Because I've thought about it, and then my Yetzer Hara is like, no, you're too tired. You really have too much to do, too much on your plate. You don't really have to do it. Starts giving you rationalizations and excuses. The Yetzer Hara is very tricky. It works very fast. Mel Robbins wrote this book. It's called The 5 Minutes Habit. Why? She did a lot of research. The 5-second rule, not 5 minutes. It's 5 seconds. And basically, her book is amazing. I love this book. It really inspired me to do a lot of things. The idea is that our brain, there's a gap of 5 seconds. And if you could break that gap and don't think, just do. Let's say your alarm clock goes on and you're like, no, I'm going to hit the snooze button. But if you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up. You don't allow yourself to say, no, I'm not going to get up. You overcame your brain. See, our brain gets us in trouble because it's like going to go in there and say, it's too cold out there. You need more sleep. You this, you that. In spiritual world, it's also like that. Our Yetzer Hara will come in and start rationalizing why we shouldn't do the mitzvah that we intended on doing. So the Nisim paused and they lost that momentum of passion, and they allowed Yetzer Hara to come in, and they were like, now ego came in. It's like, oh, let everybody donate. The commoners will donate what they will donate, and I will come in with the $1 million check, and everybody will know that I gave this, that, okay? Yetzer Hara, it comes in when we pause. It gets us to change our mind. Overcome that. How do we overcome that and combat the Yetzer Hara? We Don't pause. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? Do it. Just don't think about it. Do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Launch like a missile, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do the countdown. Don't allow time for the Yetzer Hara to get in there. Okay? Beautiful. We learned this from this week's Parsha. Another beautiful thing that I saw in this week's Parsha is the Mishkan was built from the donations of different kinds of materials that the Jewish people brought. Some people brought wood, some people brought gold, some people brought silver. When it came to the sockets, there were these silver sockets that were a foundation, and then the beams went in it. There were 100 of them. Those Hashem commanded that they will only be made out of the chetzi shekel. Everybody could donate whatever they want, but also there was like a set amount, a half a shekel, that the poor people and the rich people and the very, very rich people, everybody had to bring the same. A coin of a half a shekel, it's a silver coin of half a shekel, and then that was melted into one big pot, and through that, they made the sockets, the 100 sockets. Now, what's the meaning behind this? Because we said that the Mishkan has deeper meanings to it. The 100 sockets, the sockets are the foundation. In our foundation, and this is important, on a soul level, we're all the same. We all have the same mission. I need to get closer to God. My mission in life is to create a home for God and to form a relationship with God. Yocheved, your mission in life is the same thing. Create a home for God and create a relationship with God. Myra, that's you. Bobby, that's you. Martha, Rosalie, whoever's here, Bobby, Andrea, we are all here, same mission. So meaning our foundation is all the same. Meaning our intrinsic essence is we're all here in this world, okay? Very specific reason, not to make money and to have fun, to have kids, to become a grandparent, which is very much fun, and to get sick and old and die and leave a legacy behind it. No. Much, much deeper. We're all here to bring God's name into the world, to create godliness in the world. Like we said before, vessels of godliness in the world. We're all vessels for godliness, and we shine that godliness outwards. So we all had to bring the same chetzi shekel to remind us of that lesson. No, not more, not less. We all have the same mission. There's not higher, lesser. There's not, I'm in a much higher neshama than you, so don't talk to me because you're from a different zip code and my neshama is much higher than yours. No, on a soul level, we're all carved from Hashem and we're all equal in his eyes, okay? And we all have the same mission. And that is the foundation. The foundation of the Mishkan is made from the chetzi shekel, the silver coins that were melted, and that is the foundation of the Mishkan. There's another lesson here. 100 alludes to 100 brachot. We are supposed to say 100 blessings a day. If you calculate all the blessings that we say in davening, and then the blessings we say on food, and in Birkat HaMazon, the blessings we say after, so actually, it should come to about 100. And we always have to remember that our foundation, okay, of our foundation is being connected to God, is knowing that everything in our life comes from God. Everything, our foundation, everything comes from God. Rak ata, ein od milvado, rak Hashem, only God. Everything is a manifestation of God in this world. I am a manifestation of God in this world. Rosalie, you're a manifestation of God in this world. We're all of us, manifestations of God in this world, okay? So the 100 reminds us to count our blessings, that everything comes from him, that we all come from the same place, right? And also that we are all have the same mission, is to have faith, to have emunah. Now, why? Why 100? 100 means blessings, and through counting our blessings, we will come to faith. Because when we realize all the blessings in our life, wow, there's no accident. We are so custom made, like we're unique, and Hashem brought us to the world to bring a very unique gift to the world. So when we count our blessings, we're going to realize that, and that will bring more faith into our life, and it will strengthen our emunah. Now, why the chetzi shekel? Again, we are all required to have emunah, to have faith that God is in control, that we have to relinquish our control and know that God is running the show. Now, you might say, I'm sure that my level of emunah is not expected to be the same as this big rabbi's level of emunah. So the lesson of the chetzi shekel is everybody has to bring a half a shekel. Everybody's expected to have the same level of emunah, the same level. It's chetzi shekel, it's unison, it's togetherness. We all give the same exact thing. We all have the ability within us to have emunah. No one could say, oh, I can't really have emunah. I don't have it in me. I didn't grow up with it. I don't have the capacity for it. So no. The lesson of the Mishkan is you all give a chetzi shekel. You are all part of creating this foundation. The foundation is emunah. The foundation is hodaya, thankfulness, gratitude, because we said 100 blessings represents the gratitude for everything that we have in our life, And let's take, I'm going to just dwell on this for a second. When we say 100 blessings, today my friend Devorah Hadassah, she said, like, you could look in the blessings of the morning, Birkot HaShachar. And through that, and such a beautiful way of looking at prayer that I never looked at. It was such a chiddush for me, such an insight. When you look at the brachot, you could learn of your mission in life through the brachot. What does that mean? When we say, Baruch Atah Hashem, that you help me to distinguish between night and day. That you give me the ability to differentiate between day and night. God, you had brought me here into the world to bring godliness into the world. I want to tune into your mission, to my mission, which is your mission, to bring you into the world. And you gave me the ability, blessed are you, God, you gave me the ability to distinguish between good and evil, night and day, important, not important, right? Because when we have that ability, we will be able to express our, godliness in the world when we have that ability, right? So we recognize God, that blessing that God gave us. Let's take another one. God, thank you, Hashem, for pokeach ivrim, for giving sight to the blind, right? Like, what does it mean on a deeper level? Is that you give us the ability to see what is the right thing to do. Eyes, I'm talking spiritual eyes, not just I see you. See deeper, to see deep, to see where there's godliness, where there isn't godliness. Hashem, blessed are you. And thank you, Hashem, for allowing me to express you, God, in the world through right sight, through seeing what's important. Let's take another blessing. Shasani kirtzono, that you had made me in your will. Kirtzono, like your will. Hashem, thank you so much. Blessed are you, God, Hashem. Thank you so much, Hashem, for making me in your will, like your will, the way you wanted. And I'm almost like tuning into my mission is, please, God, I want your will to be my will. I want to express your will in the world, right? Kirtzono, the way you would want me to express my unique potential in the world. You see, God created us exactly the way we're supposed to be, custom made. It's no accidents. The family you grew in, the husband you got, the annoying mother-in-law or not annoying mother-in-law, the kid that didn't listen, the kid that does listen, all your gifts, your sicknesses, your blessings, all custom made for you to be you and to express God in the world through your personal, unique, custom made experience. You bring an aspect of godliness that I cannot bring. Each and every one of us shines a light at like almost like a prism. It's like prism, like where you look and you see that like in a kaleidoscope, you're seeing the different colors. So that is exactly it. We all bring a different ray of light into the world, and that's God's will. He made us in his will. He made me pink so I could cry and go, Hashem, why am I not red? Because Devorah, I want you to be pink, and your light to shine in the world is pink because the world needs pink right now. And Yocheved, you're yellow because the world needs yellow. But we need pink, we need yellow, we need blue, we need white, right? and create this amazing experience of godliness in the world. But we have to be vessels. We have to create space. We can't like be all I, because then we can't allow godliness to filter into us, right? And then we don't have the godliness to express into the world and to shine that light into the world. Okay. Let me just, I'm going over my notes just to make sure that I said everything I wanted to say and look at the time. Okay. Okay. So I heard Rabbi Haber saying something, you know, it was interesting. I didn't 100% understand it, but I figured if I tell it over, maybe you guys could help me understand what he meant. He gave this little Devorah Torah in regards to these two parashot, V'akel Pekudei, they're all about community, we said, right? Gathering, community, we have our power within community, and we create this vessel for God and bring godliness to the world. He said that once in Russia during Stalin times, it was Yom Kippur, the rabbi was in synagogue, but it was really dangerous times for the Jewish people. So he's waiting, he's in synagogue, and no one shows up. And then, Baruch Hashem, towards the end, Jews started coming and gathering, and it was dangerous for them and dangerous for the rabbi. So they did as quick as possible, and he gave a Devorah Torah, and he said that once someone came with a question to a rabbi, said, you know, we have like a chicken farm, and we found this chicken on the border between our two houses. So who does this chicken belong to? So the rabbi said, put the chicken, go back, put the chicken on the border, you know, and wherever the chicken walks to, that's where the home is he knows where he lives, right? So the rabbi, the lesson that the rabbi was trying to say is like, even though we're not all gathered here and we can't all physically be here, the deeper lesson is we all go in the direction of home. Home is where we yearn to be with God. We yearn to be with one another. We yearn to be connected, right? So even if you are physically not in that place, or even mentally, spiritually not in that place, the bottom line is that we are all part of Hashem's home. And we all want to be home. Like you could be far away. You could be in the most fanciest hotel, but you want to go back home, right? Because home is where you want to be, right? Dorothy, I want to go back home, right? Home. There's no place like home. No place like home, right? So our yearning, and I give this to us as a blessing, is that like that chicken that finds his way back because this is where he's used to going. And for these two Jews, they were going to find out that which chicken is, whose chicken is it, right? We don't have to do the test of the chicken. We know that we're the chicken that lives in God's home, so to say, okay? I mean, it's kind of a funny example. It's like, we know what our heart desires. We know it. Okay, we might get distracted. We might forget at times. We might get senile. We might have dementia. We might get so bombarded with temptation. But in the bottom line of it, we all want to be part of Hashem's house. And we all want to create a home for Hashem in this world. So I give us the blessing that we should be tuned and connected. And we should mamash make Hashem feel comfortable in this world. Create an amazing place for Hashem in this world. And if there are any questions at this point, please, I'm opening the mic. I'd love to see your beautiful faces.
I like that that analogy. That was really interesting about how the chicken will find its way home.
I know. I honestly, at first, no, go on. I'm sorry.
No. That was it, because it was like a dog, a cat. You know, they're seeking. They're seeking. They want to go home. They're attached to their family.
Exactly.
And just like we are attached to our family, we're attached to Hashem.
We're attached to Hashem, and we're attached to all Jewish people around the world. That's why our hearts are hurting. You know why Israel's like the news are just in America, I'm sure also, but we have a lot of Jews in the Ukraine, in the Jewish community. We're different. Like we will release 3,000 terrorists for one soldier. We released 3,000 terrorists for Gilad Shalit, right? Because we were like, no, we cannot have even one Jew in captivity. We still negotiate about getting the remains of our parachute parachuter, Ron Arad, who fell into Lebanon and Syria. We're not sure. He's still in our mind because we're family. We all yearn for one another. We all want to go back home. We all yearn to get back to Jerusalem. Yerushalayim HaBenuyah. I give us the blessing that mamash really soon in our mamash, we should feel it. We should be able to dance and rejoice in the Beis Hamikdash, in the home for Hashem, and the home for the Jewish people in Israel.
Amen.
Take care.
Name.
Carefully. Okay. Awesome. And Shabbat Shalom, even though it's only Monday. I'll see you all
And
next
Shavua
week.
Tov, Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so,
Thank you,
so
Devorah.
much.
Bye.
Bye.